All right, Ghost Recon fans, we have a hot topic to discuss today revolving around the future of our beloved Ghost Recon franchise. So with the recently leaked information from Tom Henderson on Insider Gaming about the next Ghost Recon being a first-person game, social media has been absolutely on fire when it comes to the community's reaction to this news. Hey everyone, my name is Juan Solo with A Squad Gaming, and if this is your first time here on the channel, welcome. It is great to have you. Consider hitting that subscribe button to stay up to date on all things surrounding the Ghost Recon franchise here on the channel, and for those of you that have been here a time or two, welcome back. Do make sure you guys stick around to the very end of the video because there is a little bit of a heated discussion towards the end of the video that I think a lot of you guys are going to want to give your feedback on, so make sure you guys stay all the way to the end. So jumping back to the information about the next Ghost Recon being a first-person shooter, this is a very polarizing topic, and I wanted to clarify a few things here in today's video because I've seen a number of different opinions on this topic, whether it be on the original post on Twitter, the YouTube comments of my previous videos, and a number of other content creators' videos, as well as Reddit. I do want to clarify before I go any further in this video that the majority of what I'm saying is based on public information about the Ghost Recon franchise and the general opinion of the core Ghost Recon audience. By no means am I trying to offend anyone or to tell anyone that you're wrong or right, but I wanted this to be a straightforward discussion about an extremely important feature that could be a make or break for the future of the Ghost Recon franchise. Because of there being no other information from the developers or any new leaks, this will be the last video that I make for a while on this topic, because after this video there really won't be a whole lot to say on the matter. So with all that being said, let's hop right into it. So the first thing that I wanted to clarify here is for those people out there that are saying, going back to first person is a return to the roots of the franchise, and this would kind of give us that original Ghost Recon feel that we had. You guys need to understand that that was almost 25 years ago. The original Ghost Recon released in 2001, and yes, it was exclusively first person. But just saying you want to return to the roots of the franchise, there is a lot more to it than that, especially because first-person perspective wasn't the main highlight of the original Ghost Recon. It was the TAC map and the AI squad controls. Because if you really want to get nitty-gritty about it, it was a reticle-only game, not exclusive first-person. But the main highlight of that game was the AI controls, being able to soul swap between characters, permadeath for characters that if they died, they were completely out and you needed to replace them after those operations. There was a number of standout things of the original Ghost Recon. It wasn't first person that made that game a good game. But with that being said, I wanted to run down the perspectives of all of the Ghost Recon games in order for those of you guys real quick. Because if you want to say going back to the roots of the franchise is what we need to do, Ghost Recon 2 was exclusive to console and it was third person on every platform. So if you go all the way back to the original Ghost Recon, it was first person on all platforms and it released in 2001, whether it be on GameCube, PC, PS2, or Xbox. It was all first person. And then you had the Desert Siege DLC, which was PC only. You had Island Thunder, which was PC and Xbox. And then you had the Jungle Storm DLC, which was for the PlayStation 2 only. Every single one of those was first person only. But like I said earlier, the main highlight of that game was not being the fact that it was first person. It was the in-depth squad controls and attack map and being able to issue commands to your teammates and really kind of orchestrate exactly how you wanted to do the operations. Moving on to Ghost Recon 2, which I would definitely classify this as still being in the roots of the franchise. This was a third-person exclusive game on all platforms. Yes, the aiming was in first person, but when it came to the core gameplay loop, it was in third person. It did release in 2004 on GameCube, PS2, and Xbox, and then the Summit Strike DLC, which released in 2005, was exclusive to the Xbox, but everything on the Ghost Recon 2 game itself was third person. So fast forward to 2006 with Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. Now this released on the PC, the PS2, the Xbox, and the Xbox 360. It was first person only on everything except for the Xbox 360, but I do say out of those four versions, the Xbox 360 third person version was the highest rated amongst those four releases. And for me personally, this was my first entry into the Xbox 360 era in Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, playing the PvP on Nowhere during the beta. It was an absolutely fantastic time for me as I was just starting to get into online gaming at the time. But with that being said, fast forwarding to Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2, which was released in 2007. This is where we left the previous gen consoles behind, and this game released on PC, PS3, as well as PSP and the Xbox 360. Everything was in that third-person perspective, minus the PC version. With that being said, the PS3 and Xbox 360 version of Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2 was the highest rated amongst those releases in that third-person perspective. Now moving on to Ghost Recon Predator, which was the game that was released in 2010 on the PSP. This was also in third person. Also, Ghost Recon 2010, which was kind of a standalone game developed for the Nintendo Wii, was also a third-person experience. Now, the only outlier in today's video is Ghost Recon Shadow Wars, which was released in 2011 for the Nintendo 3DS. This was actually a top-down turn-based shooter, which is definitely unique for the Ghost Recon franchise and definitely an outlier here on the list. Moving on to the iconic 2012 release of Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Now, this was third person on all platforms, PC, PS3, and Xbox 360, with the console versions getting the highest ratings. And like I said, all three versions of this game were third person. We also had the Ghost Recon Commander game in 2012, which was a Facebook exclusive game. It was an isometric kind of top-down game, very unique. I really wouldn't classify that as a true Ghost Recon game, but I wanted to mention it on the list here just for those of you guys. Also in 2014, we had Ghost Recon Phantoms, which was a PC-only game in that third-person perspective. And I do have to say this was probably the most popular PvP version of Ghost Recon. Future Soldier was really good, but this definitely took it to a new level with Ghost Recon Phantoms with different operators, different mechanics and stuff like that. And it was a very popular game, and I do say that if they ever wanted to make a dedicated PvP game in the future, they need to go back to the baseline of Ghost Recon Phantoms. Moving on, last but not least, we have the releases of Ghost Recon Wildlands and Ghost Recon Breakpoint respectively in 2017 and 2019. This was released for PC, PS4, and Xbox One, and it was third person on all platforms. Do take note here with Ghost Recon Future Soldier, Ghost Recon Wildlands, and Ghost Recon Breakpoint. These three games were the first games to introduce third-person shooting mechanics with the over-the-shoulder camera. And with all of that being said, I just wanted to clarify all of that here for you guys. Yes, going back to the roots of the franchise technically would be going back to the original Ghost Recon, but I definitely say that Ghost Recon 2 falls within the roots of the franchise, which was a third-person exclusive game. So with all of that being said, my personal opinion, I do not want to see Ghost Recon Project Over be a first-person exclusive game, but I also don't want it to be a third-person exclusive game either. So the last three entries into the Ghost Recon franchise were third-person exclusive with first-person aiming, and I truly believe the next step in the franchise is what we saw with the later stages of both of those games, with the first-person mod being added by modders into Ghost Recon Wildlands and Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Being able to choose how you want to play the game, whether it be first-person or third-person, depending on where you're at in the world, how you prefer to play the game itself, it's definitely a must-have for the future of the Ghost Recon franchise, i.e. be it the next step for the franchise itself. We're not taking steps back to its roots. We're not taking steps forward, basically making the exact same game as we have for the last three iterations of the franchise. Move it a step forward, give us the first person and third person perspectives, because if they do decide to go first person only, what happens to the cover system? You know, the cover system has been a staple mechanic for the last three Ghost Recon games, especially Ghost Recon Future Soldier. I definitely say that the cover system in that game was much better than the previous two versions of Ghost Recon. But if you go exclusive first person, are we going to lose the cover system? Are we going to lose the ability to fully customize our characters and our AI teammates and everything like that? Because if it's going to be in first person, what's the main point of seeing all the cool stuff on your character? You won't. The main point of a first-person game is you're going to be seeing the gun on your screen bouncing up and down. And for those of you that want to say that the best versions of Ghost Recon Wildlands and Ghost Recon Breakpoint were once the first-person mods were added,
y'all ready for this?
I want to challenge that by simply saying you do need to understand that the reason that those two games in first-person were so good was because the game was developed as a third-person shooter. You're seeing all of those really cool third-person animations from the first-person perspective. Those third-person animations that you're seeing from that first-person perspective, you're not going to see those animations in a dedicated first-person game. That is the reason why the first-person mods in those two games is so good. So I don't want to hear you guys using the argument, well, the best versions of Wildlands and the best version of Breakpoint was when they added the first person mod into the game. Yeah, you need to understand that the only reason that it is that way is because the game was developed in third person first. You're seeing all those really cool animations from the camera that the modders were able to put inside the character's head. That's why the first person mods are so good for those games. If the next game is developed entirely with the first person perspective only, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be more in line with Call of Duty. It's going to be more in line Escape from Tarkov. You're going to just see your gun bouncing up and down on the screen. Yeah, there might be different like ready versions. You know, you might have low ready, high ready, stuff like that. But you're not going to see all of those really cool third person animations because the game's going to be developed for the first person perspective from the ground up. So my argument here, all of you guys out there saying that we need to return to the roots of the franchise go farther forward than the original Ghost Recon, not to mention the fact that the first Ghost Recon, the main highlights of the game wasn't that it was first person. The main highlight of the game was the incredibly in-depth TAC map and AI controls, being able to fully control your squad in every operation, along with the permadeath, so that if you were too careless, you would lose your ghosts, sometimes fail the mission, but then you would have to replace those characters with new characters with different skills and whatnot. That was the main highlight of the first game. For those of you using the excuse that we need to go back to the roots because it was first person, that's not valid. I mean, this is my opinion, but it's not valid. The next Ghost Recon game needs to have a first and third person perspective, and that's all there is to it. If you want to sell a lot of microtransactions, if you want to appeal to the vast current Ghost Recon player base, the game needs to have a third person perspective. But with that being said, that's where I'm going to wrap up today's video. I could talk about this all day. I could go on a rant on it all day because there is a number of people on Reddit, Twitter, YouTube comments that are saying return to the roots of the franchise. That's not a valid argument with how you guys are bringing it across. But like I said, that is going to do it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, you want to see a third person perspective in Ghost Recon's Project Over, make sure to drop a like on the video and let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. I would extremely appreciate it. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.